Welcome to Accelerator. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to work around with the pivot tables. Before we kick off, I will appreciate if you can consider subscribing my channel. That will encourage me to make more videos for you in future. And when you do, please don't forget to click on the bell button for notification and updates. Pivot table is pretty much used for the same purpose as we used SUMIF and SUMIF functions to extract some meaningful and presentable information from the raw data. So I will be using the same data which I have used in my previous videos, and we will try to make a pivot table with the help of this information. There are different ways you can build a pivot table, but the way I prefer is by selecting the data you want to make a pivot table of, and then go to insert select the data, then Control C to copy the data, then go to insert and insert pivot tables. And if you in this screen it will ask you the data. If you haven't selected the data, you can highlight the data in this section. And secondly, in this section it's asking you where do we want the actual pivot table to be placed. So let's place the pivot table in the same screen we have got our raw data in. So once selected, press OK. That's the pivot table we have got. So in pivot table, in the pivot table field section, you will see there are four boxes. One is for filters, one is for column, one for values, and one for rows. So for example, similar to our previous videos, you want to see how much sales have been made by every salesperson. So what you need to do, drag this salesperson's name into rows. You will see that the salesperson's name will appear in the rows, and then you want to see how much sales every salesperson has made. Then you drag the sales amount in here, and the important thing is when you have dragged the information here, you need to see what function is applied. For example, it says sum of sales, so there is a possibility that any of these functions can be applied, like count, average, max. So you need to make sure you have got the correct function selected before you make any analysis. So this is not the only thing you can drive with a pivot table. You can play around with it as much as you want. For example, let's do a bit more. We want to know that every salesperson, how much sales they have made in relevant region. So let's drag the region next to the sales in the rows. So what it has done now, it has created the heading salesperson's name, and then there are regions south and east. For example, you want to see the region's name in front of the salesperson's name in a different column. So to do that, there are again different ways to activate that option. The way I like it, just right click on the pivot table, go to pivot table options, then go to display, and then click here on classic pivot table layout enables dragging of fields in the grid. Click on it, press OK, and now you will see salesperson's name. Next column you will see region name, and then you will see the total sales in the relevant regions, and then you will see the subtotal. For example, I don't like to see the subtotals. Whatever pivot table I work on, I don't prefer to see the subtotals. To get rid of subtotals, just click on the pivot table, right click, and then just uncheck subtotal option. So for example, now you want to see this by the way, this data is showing us sales made by all of the salesperson. For example, you want to see month-wise sales, and you are not really interested to see the month. What month is it? So to do that, you can drag the month into the filter section, and you will see the month has appeared here, and at the moment it is saying that all the months are selected. So if you are not interested to have a look at the months, for example, I'm interested in January, so just click on the January. all the data now you see in the pivot tables belongs to January. And in the same way, if you want to see the February, you will see the February data, and again if you want to see the March, you will see March data. Now let's see, you are interested to see the month name here in the body of the table. So to do that, you're gonna have to drag that filter down to the rows section, and again you will see in the first section you will have a salesperson's name, in second you will have month. In fact, I want to move month into the third section. Oh, I think that's more reasonable, having month in the second column. So now we have salesperson in first column, month in second, region in third, and then we have got this information. Just imagine you've got huge data and you want to extract some meaningful and presentable information out of it, then this pivot table makes really sense. Just imagine if we didn't have this small amount of data and we had like 50,000 rows worth of data, and believe me, if with these amount of salespersons, we would have ended up in the same size of pivot table. That's the beauty of pivot table. And in the same way, you can, if you want to see the whole information, you can do it. And if you see you are again seeing subtotals at month level, so you can get rid of it by clicking, and now you've got this information. And the other thing I would like to highlight in here, when you have got an output and the data is in the same sheet, I would like to make it disappear. There are two ways to do it. The first one is highlight the relevant cells you want to hide, right click and then click hide. And this way, I don't like this way, to be honest. The reason being, when somebody opens up the file, they're going to have to investigate to find out whether there was some data and that had been hidden. So there is a smart way which you can use, and with that way everybody will find out straight away that there was some sort of data and that's been hidden. So if they want to have a look at the original data, they can. How can we do that? Select the relevant columns you want to hide, go into data section, and then in data there is a option called groups. Click on it and say groups. After that you will see there are two layers have appeared, 1 and 2, and there is a plus sign, minus sign. When you click on it, the data will disappear and everybody will see that there was some sorts of data in here which we need to have a look at. If they want to, they can click on plus sign and they can have a look at the original data. So that's how we make the pivot table, that's how we play around with it, but that's not the extent we can get use of a pivot table. There are so many other ways you can get whatever sorts of information you want from pivot table. You can put things in columns, you can put in filters, whatever information you want. You just drag the options into the relevant sections and it will give you an information. If that information makes sense to you, perfectly alright. If not, you can play around with it even more. Thank you very much for watching the video, and I request you again, if you are new to my channel, please do consider subscribing my channel and click on the bell button for notification and updates. Thank you very much.